Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, a freelance graphic designer based in London. And today is part 2 of our Adobe live stream with fashion and portrait photographer, Obidigbo Nzeribe. Obidi, how you doing, man? How's life?
How you doing? I'm doing good. Doing good. Ready for day 2? How are you doing?
I'm good. Yesterday was a blast, so I know today is going to be even better.
Yeah.
So
Yesterday was fun.
It was. I'm super excited, and I can see as well in our chat, everyone's kind of coming in and showing some love already. So a big hello to Tim, Sam, Katrina, and Anika. So a massive welcome and hello. And just a little heads up: if you're on YouTube, awesome, but pop over to Behance, and that way, when you watching Obidi do some design work, I can share those lovely comments directly with him via our Behance. So that's at b.net/Adobe Live. And just a few things to kick off as a little reminder. Don't forget to head over to the Creative Cloud Express YouTube channel and subscribe to our newest addition to the Adobe Live lineup, Creative Cloud Express. And here you can check out how to navigate the easy to use app with Creative Cloud Express with Ambassador Courtney Thomas. And also, one more thing, the fun doesn't stop, because you can also check out our latest Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge with Sam Peterson every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So definitely tune in for that and sharpen those Photoshop skills. And on a final note, today's also even a special one because we have our Artist Spotlight, which is always a good one. So if you're new to this, an Artist Spotlight is a segment at Adobe Live where we like to celebrate creatives in the community. So we have a very cool creative to show you guys later, but that's for much later. And now we're going to check out Obidi and a bit of his design skills. But yeah, Obidi, would you like to give our lovely audience a bit of an intro into who you are in case they missed part 1?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Obidigbo Nzeribe, or you can call me Obi or Obidi. A fashion photographer based in Los Angeles, but I was born and raised in Nigeria, and then moved to Dallas, then LA. I specialize in fashion photography, especially fashion photography that shows Black people existing as they are in fashion spaces, and that's just it, and existing. So for today, I'm going to be talking about how to edit and just how to understand deeper skin tones in general and how to edit them properly. And we're going to do that in Photoshop today.
Nice, exciting. I know yesterday we had a blast and we had those. I mean, the quality of the imagery that you had was absolutely incredible. And I those skills that you were kind of, and even the gems and the advice and the tips that you're giving those in the chat, they were great. So, I mean, bring that energy today, man. And again, anyone in the chat, if you're new, a massive welcome, and get those questions in there. And definitely, let us know where you're streaming from, which part of the planet you're streaming from. And yeah, send some love emojis and I'll send them directly with OBD and it's all good. So yeah, let's get cracking.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna start with this photo. I took this photo in 2020, I believe. It was kind of during it was June 2020, and it was during lockdown, so we had to be like super careful. Just a lot of things went into the shoot that made it more difficult than usual. I got on set at 6 a.m. and I left set at 3 a.m.
That's intense.
It was like a 21-hour shoot because we shot like 30 pieces, and it was a whole thing, and we had to change her hair every few hours. But I'm just gonna go on and start editing. So I usually start in Camera Raw, and I'm just gonna make some minor light adjustments on here. I use this as my Lightroom, so I don't do too much here. I try to do as little as possible here, just to like get the photo where I want it to be. So I'm just gonna move. I bumped up the exposure just a tiny little bit. So this is the before and then the after. And I'm just gonna bump up the contrast a tiny bit as well, just so she looks vibrant and and still punchy. Sometimes I don't really know what exactly which way I want to move the sliders. I just kind of play with it and see what
where the
makes
vibe
sense.
takes you.
Yeah, right. Because sometimes I'm like, I want the shadows up. Sometimes I kind of want those down. I think I want it down for this one.
I feel like just leading off what you said, it's like you can obviously have your presets, but maybe it's a case of just when you get that image, just kind of, you know, using what you have at that time, and then, you know, you got to be experimental as well in that early stage when you don't really know what the end product will be, but you know you have to go down a little bit of a process to kind of get there.
You kind of just play with it because I think that's what makes editing fun, especially with like, and this is not like a plug or anything, but especially with Photoshop,
plug away.
There are like so many ways to have fun with a photo. There's so many things you can do to a photo that you're like, that's ugly, but I like it. I like that I get to have fun with this, you know.
So I think that's a key point as well. Fun, that you almost forget, like it's our craft and we do it as a profession, but having fun is such a key point in what we do, man. So
it's so key. Like if you're not having fun, you're gonna end up hating what you do eventually, because that's why we do it, because it's fun.
Exactly, and that's why you guys are, you know, you lovely people in the chat are joining us today to sort of see the fun and, you know, very, very cool process of how working today. So yeah, again, get those chats in there, those comments in there, and anything to do from, you know, from the design process, or, you know, how Obidi, education background, you know, definitely feed those in. I'm sure I'd love to hear it.
So yesterday I talked about just briefly talked about these three: red, yellows, and oranges, and how they affect the skin tone. You just want to be mindful, because in this photo, for example, I really want the orange to pop and stuff, but if I go in there and I start to like play with the orange too much, it's gonna affect her skin tone. So I just want to be mindful to do the least on here before I move into Photoshop proper, because that's where I can actually have fun with the backdrop.
It's quite cool to hear like the process of, you know, the different programs that you work in first, and then you bring it into another, and that's kind of like your method, which is cool to know.
I think when I started shooting raw, I had no clue what this was. So I just opened the picture one day and it opened there, and I was like, what is this?
What does that button do? Yeah.
What is this? So I just kept playing with things. I was like, ooh, that looks cool.
That's cool. Were you like self-taught? I mean, in terms of like design programs, Adobe programs, did you just download it one day and then play, or buy, I should say? Then how did you watch your
self-start with a lot of YouTube, and just a lot of hours spent sitting in front of my computer, trying one thing or trying something else, until one day I was like, okay, like that's my style.
Nice.
I think it took me like 2-3 years to actually figure out what my style was, because I don't think you can figure out your style in one night, or like in 1 week. That's not, I mean, some people might, but like to me that's not possible. I don't think.
Longer process, I guess. Like as well, it's forever, because I mean, even with my own craft, you're always forever being influenced by what you see around you, by people you meet, and it can forever change as well. I guess you might have that foundation, like a style, but then it's probably being influenced over a period of time. And I see, I mean, even from again, from the work we've seen, you know, when you're showing us yesterday on your Instagram and you know, your website, and you have a distinctive style. I think that is such an obvious thing, and I love, I mean, the efforts and the colors, and even when you said that yesterday you made that sort of cap, was it the shower cap? The efforts you went, man, was cool. I like that.
I think that was one of those things, because you have to find your editing style and also your photography style, and I think those two things go hand in hand to like make your brand as an artist, because you know these days it's all about having a brand. I mean, I guess it's always been about having a brand, because when you see a Pollock, you know it's a Pollock. Like, you know, when you see Van Gogh, you know it's Van Gogh.
Mm.
So I'm just gonna start real quick by cropping this down.
And just on that topic, again, for anyone in the chat, you know, in terms of like design style, if you're, you know, if you're creative, I mean, it'd be good to know yours experiences, you know, and definitely share them, whether you feel like you know, when you watch Adobe Lives and you watch these videos, you can get, you know, inspired, and that kind of helps you with your design flow and your ethics. But, you know, how do you guys operate in terms of being inspired and yeah, what is your thing? Just definitely share it in the chat, and let's get those questions going. It'd be great to hear everyone's thoughts.
Definitely. Sorry, I have the spinning wheel of death. Okay, yeah, it's gone.
We got a question from Sean. He said, "Are we taking workflow questions today?" So I feel like any questions really. Yeah,
any questions. Hit me.
Happy to answer them, man. So yeah, get those questions in.
Hit
Even
me
if it's like, what is your? I mean, yesterday we figured out that you like to design with Family Guy in the background, right? That was a.
I mean, it's playing right now again.
Is it playing right now?
It's playing right now.
I love that. Brilliant. Everyone's got their thing.
So I'm gonna jump into skin. I mean, she already has pretty great skin, but I'm just gonna go in and like do some little zhuzhing up.
The colors are, I mean, it's beautiful, especially even on the garments of the clothing. It's powerful.
Nice. She is gorgeous. Her name is Dosha Dang.
That is a cool name, man. I like that.
Yeah. Let me see. So I'm gonna start with frequency separation, and this is an action pack that I made I think back in 2018 or so.
Can you explain again for maybe those in the chat, if they're quite new to the design like what would that entail, or what's that kind of?
So it's just a way to edit the skin really, and you can get more details in the skin without blurring it completely or like making the face flat. I know a lot of people have beef with frequency separation and they prefer to use dodge and burn, but for me this works, and my photos don't look flat, I don't think, so I'm good.
So we got a question from Sean. He said, does Obidi use Lightroom or Lightroom C instead of ACR?
I actually don't use Lightroom. I just use Adobe Camera Raw. I used to have Lightroom a while ago, and I used to use that how I use this app right now. But I just found that it was the same as Camera Raw for me, so I just switched over. Then, okay, so I talked yesterday about having to duplicate my skin layer because I'm doing that in case I mess up. I can always just delete this and keep working. So I'm having to like delete the whole frequency separation group and then open it up again because that's way too much work. No one wants to do that.
It's like a safety net, right? Or just in case.
Yeah. Just in case. And honestly, she has really good skin. I don't think I even edited this the first time, but just to show, with frequency separation, I start with the mixer brush tool, and these are my settings. I have my wet on 21, load on 21, mix 20, flow 20. You also want to have this highlighted as well. I also talked about flow being on 20 is relatively low enough, and it's also high enough to where it's effective, because if you start to go too high, like if we put it at 100, for example, and we're trying to edit, you would see in a second that like we're going to basically flatten out her face. And you don't want that, because the thing with frequency separation is that you want to understand your subject's bone structure and how and like how light falls on it.
That's a very good point. I guess it's that attention to detail. I mean, we touched on it yesterday, and it's that attention to detail, just to every little point that is assessed and looked at. That makes such a difference in the final deliverable. So yeah, it's really good to know.
Sorry, I don't know why this is spinning so much.
The quality is so good. It's just like it's saying,
Right,
whoa.
but yeah, let me just do this real quick, just to be on the safe side. But you see how her nose looks, basically. That's something you don't want, so that's why you have to keep the flow at a relatively low number, like 20. Let's go on and undo that. And you can always just undo, or you can delete that completely. You can delete that completely.
One thing I remember as well yesterday from our talk was your layering system, like the way you name your layers and your structure, your presets, I should say.
Right, the presets.
That was great to hear, because again, for those of you might have missed yesterday, we were kind of going through, and everyone has that kind of method of what works for them, whether it's a nicely underscored strategic lettering, you know, or if it's like a A, and then you had like quite a cool method to your process.
It's a whole thing.
That's cool.
I have to do that way, because if I give them actual names, I think I would forget why I named them, what I named them, you know.
I'd love to hear in the chat. I mean, what's it? I mean, when it comes to whether it's even, you know, Photoshop or any other sort of, you know, design program we have, Adobe, you know, are you and then it's no judgment whatsoever, but are you naming the layer? Are you just quickly color code? I mean, definitely get your kind of ways of working. And I mean, I color code. I tend to, weirdly enough, I do name them, but I will color code. And if it's like a red, then it's like I'm working on it now. If it's green, then it's, you know, kind of it's been gone. But yeah, I work with color quite a lot in terms of that structure.
Yeah. Sorry. Honestly, I'm going to jump into the main editing, because there isn't much to do with her skin, and I'm scared of messing it up, because it is so great.
Perfect. Yeah,
I don't need to edit it, but I'm I'm still gonna edit her skin, just not like retouching, because there's really no flaw I can see on her skin, and doing anything right now would be a great disservice. But I'm gonna jump into dodge and burn. And dodge and burn, basically for me, it's how I enhance the bone structure and just the skin. And a lot of my photos have that glossy effects, and that's basically how I do it with dodge and burn. And basically what it is I grabbed a curves layer. Actually, let me make one from scratch and show you guys how I do it. So I grab the curves layer and I change the blending mode to screen, and then I invert it. You can invert by hitting Command I, or you can just go here and invert. And then I grab another one and I change the blending mode to multiply. And then again, I invert it. And then I just select both of them and I hit Command G. And you can rename that Dodge and Burn. And so now you have, I would always advise renaming these, because you don't want to go burn on a dodge layer.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So now when you do that, you go back to your brush and you switch back to the regular brush tool. Flow on 3%, very key. You don't want your flow too high, again, because you don't want her looking like this. That's how cute.
It's interesting, because I remember you said yesterday as well, just kind of leading on what you're saying before, was again, it's knowing when to go dark or light on skin, because it's such an important. I think we touched on this even before we had our live, and we had our little catch up a week ago, where, you know, brands that use, you know, certain skin tones in advertisements or any kind of branding, you know, it's how much how much is too much.
Right. With dodge and burn, basically you're looking at the face and you're looking at where the light falls, and you're trying to enhance that, and you're looking at where the shadows fall as well, so you're trying to enhance that as well. So I'm just gonna go in real quick, and like we can see the light falls on her cheekbones right there. So we just go over that slightly. And again, just make sure when you're editing skin or anything, you're varying your brush sizes.
Are you a when you're designing? Do you obviously mentioned your Command I for invert? Are you a kind of know all the keys and shortcuts so it's super quick, or do you sometimes have like a mind
I
block? You have to kind of go to the menu and then
I
go the old-fashioned
really
way.
I really enjoy finding the shortcuts. Like I haven't really had the chance to look it up online to see what the different shortcuts are, but I enjoy hitting something. I'm like, oh, that's what that does. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's probably a good time to actually nicely plug as well when we do, the different Adobe Lives and the different design challenge that we have as well, because you learn a lot about different programs, whether it's InDesign, Illustrator, UX. So again, it's an opportunity to watch more streams, but also to kind of get familiar with the programs and again to learn shortcuts, because that just makes the whole design process a lot more simpler and
A
streamlined.
lot easier because you can just hit Command I and so like go to select and then hit in inverse. Like that's a lot of work, and no one wants to do all of that.
just like took out half the time. It's great.
Right.
We've
It's
got
just like
I was gonna say we've got some, and again, some lovely comments. So we've got
okay.
so Kiss My Creative, good name, said a gorgeous photograph taken. So yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
for that comment.
The model made it so easy. Basically just the dodge and burn, that just enhances the face more and makes her pop out more in the photo. So we're just gonna jump into the editing. So when you're editing a photo like this and you see the orange and you want it to pop a lot more and you see her skin and you're having this dilemma, you're thinking, if I make the orange pop a lot, it's the orange right now looks great, but look at her skin. It's not what it was before. So I think basically what people need to understand, you need to understand your model's undertone when you're doing a photo shoot. You need to understand there are three main undertones. There's warm, there's neutral, and there's cool. So she is very cool in a sense that when you look at her skin, it's a lot of blues and purples in the undertone compared to when you look at, let's say Beyonce, for example. Beyonce is a warm undertone. I'm trying to think of someone that's neutral.
You mentioned your love for Rihanna, but I don't know if that probably comes in the same Beyonce bracket. I'm not.
No, yeah, Rihanna I think is very warm as well, but she's not as warm. She's almost neutral. She's not super warm. But yeah, you need to understand your subject undertones. So for example, with this photo, if I wanted to start editing and I wanted the background to pop, I can keep going and I can keep doing all I'm doing right now. So I'm just gonna edit the backdrop mainly first and just ignore her skin for now. And I want the yellows or the orange to be more on the warm side than on the cool side, because it doesn't translate, the story doesn't translate as much when it's cool on the background. I'm actually having so much fun with this photo because the photo they were shot on a white background with just the jewel.
There's more happening, yeah.
Right, there's a lot happening here, and I like to think that I'm a maximalist in some sense. I just love everything, just like keep adding it on, yeah.
And you said yesterday, I mean, I remember you mentioning that you it almost was that bravery of like when you meet someone perhaps in the street and you vibe with them, you might want to maybe shoot, take a photograph of them, and then you mentioned about the different clothing or objects that you might create for them and put on them. That's quite cool, man, in terms of like
that's actually how we met. We were at an event in Dallas because we're both from Dallas. We were at an event in Dallas and I went up to her and I said, "Hey, I have to photograph you, please." And this was back in 2019, 2018. And she was like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
I love, you know what, that's such an organic like working relationship. Just you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I
That's
just go
cool.
up to them like, hey, can I please shoot you? And they're like, yeah,
Vibes
sure.
with let's do it. I mean, to be fair, that's even good, like, you know, advice for those in the chat as well. It's especially if you're like a student or a graduate and you're kind of going into the big world, whether it's freelance or full time. It's that
Yeah,
bravery, right, of just kind of taking risks and then seeing. Because again, if you know, I spoke to that lady, well, what must I say, we might not be doing what we're doing now in terms of a
yeah.
beautiful photograph. We'll
No,
definitely not be.
never be afraid to ask.
Mm.
The worst thing they can say is no.
If you don't ask, you don't get. That's what Granddad used to
Right,
always say.
right. I, th- I think my parents used to say that in a different way. I think it was like no ask, no want, or something like that. I don't remember. It's been so
If they,
long.
are your family in the chat, by the way, if they, because they might
Um,
mention, you
I
should
don't
know
think
this from
so.
from day one.
I don't think so. But if they're here, they should say hi.
Say hi. And actually, it's a nice reminder to say again, if you're on YouTube and you're commenting, you know, amazing, but definitely, you know, come on to Behance because we can see those comments on Behance, and that way we can share them, especially if Obidi's family's on your YouTube. Hop over to Behance and then I can read those lovely comments. So yeah, a massive welcome.
So I'm just right now. I'm just editing mainly for everything else but her skin, and that's another thing that I do in Photoshop is that I basically disjoint different parts of the photo and edit them separately, because it's easier that way to not mess it up and have a very muddy photo. So with whites, neutrals, and blacks, you want to be just very careful about how much you're doing. Let's see.
We've got a whilst you're still doing that, we've got a lovely question from Samantha who said, Obi, how do you get inspired when you've hit a creative roadblock?
You know, I actually had a very intense block a few months ago, actually last month, not a few months ago. And what I did, because I think it started in November, but what I did was I just let it run. I just let it happen.
Okay, just ride that wave of just.
Yeah, I just let it happen. I just rested. I took time off from editing, because you know, like sometimes we burn out our creative juices and we have to like let it replenish. But when I needed to go, like when I needed to like get inspired again, because it was kind of getting tasking on my mental, I normally just look at magazines, hang out with friends, just talk with people. Sometimes I go back and revisit my old work, because I've noticed that me as a photographer back in 2018 and 2017 and me right now in 2022, we're like two different people. Because back then, we talked about this yesterday, I was just like shooting whatever. Back then, I could go out with a friend and we won't even have an actual like any actual fashion plan. She would just show up and whatever and would take photos. But now I have to have like a mood board. I have to have a stylist, makeup
The
artist.
process.
Right. So I try to go back and pull from what that guy was doing and just kind of have fun with it and just let it be organic.
I love that. Just like that, almost like that. Your brain kind of needs that you know, that break of just switch off
Yeah.
and, you know, just take another alternative route. That's great to hear.
Yeah, your brain honestly can't be on every single time. You know, like it takes breaks. Sometimes it's like,
The
yo, take
digital
a break.
detox, right? The digital
Right.
detox. It'd be good to again, for anyone in the chat, you know, what's kind of your, you know, your methods of when you have a creative block. Where do you need to sort of switch off from the computer? You kind of go out, community, you know, just even go for a walk. You know, definitely feed those even recommendations as well. That would be great to kind of hear.
Sometimes
I don't know.
even just hanging out with some friends and talking about what we're all doing, that really helps with the block. So
I was gonna say, just to sort of feed off. I mean, I tend to go on like creative blogs a lot as well, like design blogs, and just get a feel for what's going on in the community, or even just outside of the UK, just seeing what people are doing in the US, and
right.
that's quite cool. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, you were saying
You
for your
good?
next part.
I was just gonna grab the eraser. I'm not going to invert it because that would be too much to paint everywhere but her skin. So we're gonna grab the eraser brush and go up to her skin. So basically, you can kind of see how 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 warm we've made her look, and she's not normally that warm. Like that's what she looks like more than anything. So I'm just gonna grab this eraser and go over her skin.
We've got some whilst you're doing that as well. We've got some good questions to feed into you about this. So first one's a beautiful comment actually from Jesus, who said, "Obi is the best photographer I know. Amazing wealth of skills." So some love in the chat already. And also another question. So he's asked, "How do you make your mood boards? And what are your favorite magazines?"
I actually talked about making the mood boards yesterday on here, and they can go back and watch that on day one, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Part one.
Part one. But so I think the main thing is sourcing the photos that go in the mood board. And that's where social media comes into play. And like you have apps like Pinterest and Tumblr, and you can really just go. I could go on there sometimes and spend like 6 hours just scrolling. Sometimes if you have an idea of what you want, you can always type that in the search bar and you find something. Sometimes I also sketch when it's an idea that
like draw. You mean just like pen to paper?
Yeah, like when it's an idea that is just very much in my head and I can't necessarily find reference photos, I try to sketch it out.
Nice.
But yes, that's how I find inspiration. What was the other question?
And the other one was, what are your favorite magazines? So it could be, photography led or just design magazines as a whole.
I really like. Okay, so there's this new. I don't know if I should call it a magazine or a book, but it's called Black Fashion Fair. It's the editor is Antoine Gregory. They're doing something really, really fucking cool right now. I don't know if I can curse on here. My bad.
Probably no more, but there we go.
My bad. I kind of lost my train of thought, but no, they're doing something really cool right now, and awesome. I can show you guys some of what they have after I'm done with this. But it's really inspiring. There's Black Fashion Fair. There's ID.
Yeah, I saw was a winner.
Yeah, I just really love when they have the one eye covered. It's so it's fun.
Iconic, isn't it? It's so iconic now. Yeah.
Every time you see a cover, right? Every time you see a cover, you wonder like, okay, how are they gonna top the last one? And then it's like, oh, someone is posed like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. And then next one, someone has a phone up to one eye, and it's just so interesting to see
different ways
what they come up with, ways to cover up the eye. Okay, so
great question.
I've basically fixed the skin, taking it back to how it looked before. So we're gonna move on to curves. Basically, the whole point of this photo is to make all the warmth in the background pop without ruining her skin tone. Because that's very important, and like that happens a lot in the media. It's been happening and it's still happening, where you see someone and you know what the skin tone looks like, then you see them photographed and they're like shades lighter, or like or they've changed their skin tone completely, and it's just, why was that done?
No, that's a very good point. I think it's especially the individual who might even see that work and what they'll know. Obviously, that's not their complexion, so it's
Right.
something that happens probably more often in the media than we said it
And
should, basically.
and sometimes it's not something that was done intentionally. Sometimes you take a photo and the camera registers the person a few shades lighter, or like a different skin tone, depending on what what's I'm trying to say, what your white balance is. If you're cool, if you're warm. So yeah, basically white balance is one other way to understand the whole cool and warm thing. Because if you're talking about Lupita Nyong'o, she's cool. If you're talking about Beyonce or like Tyra Banks, they're warm. Then I'm just going to really quickly do this. With the curves, I really enjoy using the blue one because I feel like that's where I get my best color grading. But I'm doing this mainly for the tones.
I was gonna say, so we're about half an hour already into our stream, which is crazy how quick time's flying. But if you have just joined us, a massive welcome. And today you're watching part 2 of Obidigbo Nzeribe's stream. And today he's currently understanding his subject undertone, so a bit of editing on Photoshop. So a massive welcome if you've just joined us. And any questions related to Obidi and his design process, his background, his inspiration, get those in the chat, and I'll be happy to share them with him. So welcome.
Also, the way that I understand this is that this is your midpoint. These are shadows and these are your highlights. So I'm gonna open a different one and show you what I mean by that. So this is your midpoint basically. So it basically is controlling the whole photo. But your shadows mainly, like you can see how when I pull the shadows up, she looks more washed out. And then your highlights, when you zoom into like her cheek, for example, where that's probably the brightest highlight in the photo, you can really see that difference. You see how it's very flat now, and compared to here when it's very bright. So it's just something that, again, it really comes down to you as a creative and like what you think works for the photo.
It's interesting the contrast with the hair as well, because it's such a excuse me, a very bright, sharp color. So again, it's attention to detail when you're sort of moving the curves or the different filters.
Now I'm gonna just grab let's do it with selective color.
Got a question for you actually, whilst you're still doing that, from Jesus, who said, Obi, what are you using the color curves ones for? Adjusting the sky or overall colors? And do you just do an S curve?
Yes, I do an S curve, but you said the sky?
Yeah, so I think the kind of background, I think it looks kind of sky-like, but I think he's an asking, are you using that to adjust just the background, or is it overall?
Oh no, it's for the whole photo. Yeah, because if you kind of look at it, there's just a slight minor effect, but you can kind of see how punchier it gets whenever I toggle this eye. I hope that answers the question, Jesus.
Yeah, it's a good question, and we've got another one. I mean, they're coming in thick and fast.
Okay,
but we've got so I'll say that whilst obviously I don't want to distract you whilst you're doing it, but you're balancing the questions to design ratio really well, because it's always a struggle. So Dopegasm said, how do you keep your colors consistent when editing multiple pictures for the same shoot?
I actually will show you in a bit. I'll show you that in a second, because we briefly touched on that yesterday with the presets and stuff like that. So I'll show you that in a second. After I'm done with this photo, I'll cycle back to that. But so there's this one trick that I learned about how to keep a fairly consistent skin tone, because sometimes you see like there's like the bit of reds or like just the light up parts up here where the skin tone is different in different spaces. So what I do normally is I go to gradient map. Nope. Wait, sorry. Let me start that again. Let me zoom out actually. I go to gradient map and I change it to
getting like gothic vibes from that actually. It's
right.
quite voodoo Val's design style. If you guys know about that, then you'll know. But yeah, that looks good.
Actually, I'm gonna change it to color and take the opacity down to 100, down to 0, sorry. And then I click on here. I'm gonna zoom in again. So basically what you're doing is you want to select the colors in the skin that you want to see mainly. So I'm going to click this for the highlights. So select a highlight, like, so this is a highlight. Wait, let me switch to this. I need to be on the actual adjustment layer, not on the mask. So you might want to like select, let's say, this for the highlights, and you click on this to select the shadows. And then you can turn the opacity up to like wherever you want it to be, basically. So let's keep it at like 38, and then invert by hitting Command I. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the mask. That's why that didn't invert.
I feel like that happens way more often than not when you realize you're on there.
It happens way more often, trust me. I'm always like, why isn't that working? That's why it's not working. You're not on the right.
I always say it's like a glitch in the matrix. That's probably the reason why we just, it's okay.
Right.
These things happen. And whilst you're doing that, just a friendly reminder as well. We are, excuse me, we've got our artist spotlight today. So it's always a good one. So definitely stay tuned for that one, which will be coming up. We're about just under an hour's time or so. And as always, we love to sort of see any recommendations that you might have. So if you like to submit them via the Behance chat, you can see the tab says Artist Spotlight. So check that out and do some submitting. And it'd be great to sort of see your recommendations. And of course, yourself as well is always welcome. So can't wait to see them, and definitely stay tuned for a good one, because we have a lovely person to show you guys later today.
And also sometimes when you're editing and you really want to see what you've done, you hit / on the mask, and everything's red. So now I can see the spots that I've missed.
Nice.
So this is a way that you can really use to get a more even skin tone. So that way it's all more of the same shade. And I'm not gonna be as clean as I would be normally because of time, and we all get the gist.
It's cool to see your process. That are different, the sort of process you're going through each one. Very cool.
Like, if you mess up and you need to, let's say I mess up and do this, I can always just hit X. Also, another shortcut, hitting X when you're on a brush or an eraser changes the foreground. So if you look over here on the mid left section, if I hit X, it changes from white to black.
Nice. Giving our audience some gems.
Yeah, and basically, what is that saying? Is it white conceals and black reveals? It's some saying that I heard my friend say once, and I was like, oh, that's so smart.
I feel like that was yesterday. We had a few sayings and we were trying to figure out.
We had a few sayings and we could not figure out what it meant.
It's like remember like the foundation of what it represents, but we just couldn't remember the actual structure of the sentence. but it's all good. We meant it in spirit. It's
So
okay.
basically, when I click out of this, you can kind of see how she looks a lot more even now. So like when you look at for example, you can see the minor change, but like it really works for the photo.
We've got a question actually. Just going back to when you were using the gradient map. So we've got a comment asking, what was the gradient map really used for? Was it used to blend in more? Just so we can get an idea.
The gradient map was used to give a more even skin tone. So I can quickly just run through that again, just because I know that was a weird concept when I first tried it. But it's just gradient map. You change the blending mode to color, and you bring it down to 0 on here. And then you want to be on the actual adjustment layer, not on the mask. And then when you click on here, you use this to select your highlights on the skin. Let's say like here, and then you use this to select your shadows. And then after that, you bump up your opacity somewhere wherever you feel works best for the photo, and then you invert. Again, move to the mask to invert, not on the layer. Invert, and then grab a brush and paint over wherever you want that to be.
Nice. Thank you for recapping that. Again, any questions you guys have, and if it's stuff that you've seen we're doing and depending on the process or the different tools Obidi is using, if you're curious, get those questions in, and I'm sure he's happy to either show it or even, tell you what it is. And actually, we've got one more question, which is actually one I was gonna think about in terms of the crop. So one of the questions was, say you like a full image of what you're doing, for example, now. How do you crop it, say for Instagram, an Instagram portrait, where you still want to show everything in its entirety?
That's something that I still struggle with personally. But whenever I have a photo and I just want to see what the crop would look like, I go to the crop and I go to the 4:5 or the 8:10. And that's what the Instagram crop is. So it gives me an idea of how I'm gonna crop it, but I usually don't crop my photos specifically for Instagram because they also go on my website, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and those apps don't have a cropping limit. You can post whatever the dimensions are, but I usually don't crop for Instagram specifically.
That's a good question. Very good. Because I've seen as well, even how some people create their feed where rather than having to crop within the shape of a square, it's pretty much just it's basically everything's entirety, but they've got like say a white frame on either side, just so that way when you scroll down, you just see everything how it should be, rather than it fitting all to a square, so it's perfectly even. Which
I envy people that actually take time to plan your Instagram. I'm so lazy, I can't. It's just so much work.
But your Insta's sharp, man. I don't know. I would have thought you already spent a few hours just creating it.
I just post. Like
you just post.
I'm just like, okay, here, have this.
It's a full-time job, isn't it?
It is a
creating social media.
It is.
Definitely. I'd love to know whilst we're doing, I'd love to know in the chat. If you got like say a design account on Instagram, how do you find creating your social post? Because I know it like we said, it can be a bit of I won't say mundane, but there's a lot of work that has to go into that, where sometimes you might skip out actually designing the actual work, just thinking about how it's going to look. So yeah, it'd be great to know what everyone's thoughts are of how they kind of create their social posts, or if it's just a case of just putting it out there and then moving to the next. Yeah, get those comments in there.
So these are lots that I like to play with color lookup. I have quite a few of them on here, and they all give you different effects, really.
That looked awesome. That first one was like, I know obviously skin was wrong, but the clothing,
right,
yeah.
So again, sometimes because this was for a client, so I couldn't really play with the colors on the clothing that much. But let's say if I wanted to do that, I can just go back to skin, copy, go to my selection tool and click select subject. And then whenever that's selected, we also talked about this tool yesterday and how great it is now. The select tool, select subject tool. And I'm just gonna go and deselect her head.
That's probably a perfect time to actually mention it. I think we touched on it yesterday, but especially with a lot of the Adobe updates that we've got in the different programs, there's a lot of things that just makes life a lot easier for every creative. So again, definitely get, experimenting, watch more lives, watch more streams, even when we're off, because that's how you get better, right? With more practice. And yeah, everything's there designed nicely for you guys to make life a lot more easier, so you can focus on the fun parts.
There's this new feature that I haven't tried yet. I'm still willing to try, but I think it's this one where you can add someone to your the project.
Workspace? Yeah, I know what you mean. I haven't used that yet myself. That'd be cool.
I'm yet to use it, but like that would be really cool because I have a friend, Kelsey Maggot, and I send her all my photos to like review. I'm like, okay, tell me if it's bad, because she'll tell me, she'll be like, yeah, this sucks.
No messing around, just boom. That's
yeah.
You need a friend like that.
Yeah, this sucks. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, thanks for letting me know it sucks. So, but she won't just say this sucks. She'll be like, yeah, this sucks because XYZ.
Yeah.
Because that's constructive criticism. You also like tell me why it sucks. You can't just say it sucks. Like,
but that's a good friend, though, right?
Right.
Do that.
It sucks because there's the colors are muddy, or there's chromatic aberration, something. Like, tell me why it sucks,
Just on that, actually, I was gonna say, whilst you're talking about that idea of your friend that gives you, that advice, how do you deal with it with clients when you're saying when you're working on a project and they come back with maybe something that you wasn't expecting? How do you kind of handle those comments?
You have to have thick skin. You have to have thick skin in this industry, because it's all very subjective. What looks good to me could look like crap to you. So it's all very subjective. And sometimes when you send a client a picture and they're like, I hate it, you have to not break down because the client hates the photo. You have to be like, okay, how can I fix it? Like what do you hate about it? I think I had to learn that the tough way, because I've broken down a few times when they've been like, yeah, we don't like the photos that much. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go cry now. Yeah, no, it's always really painful whenever they say that, but it's also really nice when you hear the praises and they're like, yeah, we love it, you're so good. I'm like, thank you.
Definitely. It'd be good to know as well, like, how do you guys in the chat, whether you're working in the creative industry or just within the working world itself, when you get immense feedback, critique, how do you guys find that? Because yeah, I mean, it's very difficult when you've worked something for such a long time and the feedback is not what you expected. But then, I mean, just from a personal, I always tend to think to myself, as much as it might be frustrating or annoying, both parties kind of want to get the best deliverable possible. So if you have to kind of go through those churns and churns and churns, not too many hopefully, but enough that it refines the project and gets it good, then you're gonna have to take one for the team and get it. But I always feel like the more projects you do, though, the more you understand yourself and how other people work.
Definitely.
Right? So,
and I think it also just like it boils down to learning to take jobs that you can show off your skills on. There's this number like for me, for example, I don't take every job that I'm approached with. If it's like an event or like a wedding, I don't take those because I know that's not my forte. So I try to stick to what I know. In High School Musical, when they had the whole lunch cafeteria dance, right? And they were like, stick to the status quo. I do that scene every time. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's not me.
That's funny. I'm getting like with your clothes as well. I'm getting that sort of High School Musical jacket. Is that why you strategically placed that film? I love that. There's a method behind everything.
No, I didn't even think about it until now, but yeah, white cards. But this is what we're talking about with I wanted to have just that, just select the dress and work on it. But yeah, I don't really want to do much else for this photo because it was, I think it looks great as it is right now, and it doesn't need much else done to it. But that's basically how everything else is vibrant and the skin still looks good. It's not too yellow, it's not too washed out. Everything looks great, but I can move on to a different photo.
Yeah, please, definitely. I mean, again, I was going to say we got some lovely comments on the photograph, which is great. And I mean, we've got Panloma who said this photograph is OMG, I can't, with the heart emoji eye face.
Yeah.
And then we've got another lovely comment which says, Obi, you're such a great teacher. I would love to see you on more Adobe lives. So there we go. I'm sure we will, because you've been great. So keep those lovely comments coming in. It's always nice to hear those encouragements as well.
So someone had asked about how to keep your editing consistent. So what I do whenever I'm working on a new set or like on a new photo, the first photo always takes me the most time because that's the photo that basically sets the foundation for the other photos. And normally when the photos have the same lighting or the same clothing, there are two ways that I can do it. So with this one that we worked on already, the great thing about Adobe Camera is that it kind of saves the settings that you had already. So I go to this layer, it's the presets layer, and I click on this page icon, and I can name it. So back to the naming system. We have one from yesterday actually. Where is it? It should be AAA.
Is that A for Adobe, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
So I could go in and grab another one. I'm just gonna name it again. AAA. Adobe Live Day 2.
Nice.
And so now that's there. And I can always use that whenever I want. So just real quick, for this photo, if I wanted to get it to look the same, I can either, so I'm just gonna do this real quick. I can either go here and select the AAA Adobe Live Day 2, or if I don't feel like saving it, I can just go on here, hold Shift and click on the other one, and then click Sync Settings. But you always want to make sure that the one that has the edit is the first one that's selected. So now it's the same edit-wise.
I love that shot, by the way. I feel like we need to zoom in to just pay more homage to. You've probably seen it obviously a few times, but for us, for the fresh pair of eyes, this is incredible. Such an amazing, shoot.
We shot this in the designer's house because we're trying to be smart with moving around, because I mean it was something that had to be released, and we were all okay enough to like do the shoot and like test and do lockdowns and all that. So that's why that shoot really worked. And we had a florist on set. So these are all actual flowers.
Could you zoom in a little bit just so we can get that real? We can really pay homage to that beautiful shot.
So let me just. Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was an actual florist. Those are all real.
Wow.
Those are all real.
Even the shoes were pretty striking as well. Sharp red in between.
It was like, I know one of my great friends, Damon Mahone, and she also directed the whole shoot. But for this one, normally, because I've already edited this before, I cropped it because I just didn't feel like having to extend all of that, and just extending the backdrop here would have been so much work, so I just cropped it. That's what I'm gonna do today.
Whilst you're still doing that, we've got a few questions, but I want to definitely sort of feed them in strategically so you can definitely focus more. But I mean, this is great, so definitely keep them coming. I promise you, I will share them with Obidi. So the first one is, do you have any natural light photographs? Also, how do you get such great highlights off the bat? Just make up or something else?
Well, number one, yeah, the makeup helps, and also I try to shoot slightly, I want to say darker, just so, because you can definitely get back the information in a dark photo, but when it's a blown out photo, you can't really get back that many details. But just real quick with this photo, if I want to again have it all look the same, consistent, I would hold shift from the first layer here. Just these three really. Oh wait, sorry. Hold shift and select all of them, and then right click and go to duplicate layers, and then I move it onto here. And now all I really need to do is just to go in and hitting back / helps a lot with this, because you can really get to see, okay, so that's where her head was in the other photo, and you want it to be on her head here, so you can just go in and clean that out and zoom in. You just put that on the face instead of the hand where it doesn't need to be. And then again, you just make sure you're also getting every bit of skin that is showing. I'm not going to be as smooth because I want to show you some other photos as well. Nice. But yeah, you just want to go in there and clean all of that up. Like, that's clearly not the neatest job, but you kind of see the idea. And then you do the same as well for this gradient map too. You can kind of see where it is by hitting the / and then you just clean it up and hit X and put that on the face. But that's how you can have a consistent edit across the board, because you don't want to have to go in and do every single photo individually. That's way too much work.
I was gonna say no one's got time. Well, we do have time for it, but in general, it's. I mean, yeah, especially if you're editing like 100 images, right? And if you've got deadlines and stuff, so it's good to and it's good to actually hear you using the shortcuts as well, which is, I feel like our audience will definitely learn a lot from how quickly you're maneuvering for everything and the shortcuts you're teaching us. So yeah, awesome.
I'm gonna try this one because she has a warm skin tone or a warm undertone.
It's perhaps a nice time to mention as well for our lovely audience. So we're about sort of 25 minutes or so until we're going to get into our artist spotlight. And it's a really good one, so you definitely do not want to miss out. So yeah, a massive welcome if you just joined us, because it's about an hour now already into the stream, which is crazy to think that how quickly time's gone. But a massive welcome, and yeah, stay tuned for artist spotlight because it's a good one. So yeah,
this is natural light, by the way.
I love that.
But why it's so bright is because we had a reflector shining directly on her. So another key for good lighting during a shoot is to have a reflector, or even having like a mirror on set. You can really use that to bounce light, because when I'm shooting, if the sun is shining this way, sometimes I prefer to shoot with the models back to the sun, but then I have to use like a reflector or like a mirror, or if you have lights outside, you can use that as well. But I use those to like bounce the lights back on her. So I'm just gonna real quick run through the just some simple touches here and there.
That's a question to whilst you're doing that. I'm quite curious. So obviously we've seen some amazing work in the different models you work with. Do you get an opportunity to travel? I mean, obviously now with lockdown a bit more released, a chance to travel a lot more with models and clients you work with for photo shoots, or?
So that's actually why I moved to Los Angeles, because I was in Dallas for about 5-6 years.
Okay.
And then I think it was during lockdown or in 2020, I had a lot of work inquiry in LA and like some in New York, but mainly here in LA. And I noticed that I was flying to the city like every week. I had a flight to LA. And if you know me, you know I hate flying.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I don't like flying. I like going places. I don't like traveling.
Okay.
Like
go between moment. He's when they get there.
Whoever needs to invent teleportation, like I need to be able to teleport to France right now if I want to. It's 2022. What's going on?
If we got some engineers or anyone who's discovered the miracle of travel without a machine, then yeah, get in there. Almost like Star Trek wise, right? Yeah.
Right. It's like I don't want to sit in a flying metal box for, well, not a box, but you know what I mean.
This shot is beautiful. I mean, you mentioned as well yesterday about with your models that you work with, the eyes, right? The intensity of
the eyes.
I mean, this shot has some, yeah, those
like,
eyes, they see into our soul, man.
She knows all your secrets.
Yeah, she knows it. Even our audience secrets. But she's not telling. She's keeping it to herself.
If you're like watching at home, just if you move your head wherever you go, she's like following you, and you're just like, stop looking at me, please. That's what I love about photos.
I love that.
And the eyes are just so intense that they follow you wherever you go.
That is a striking shot, definitely.
Thank you.
We've got Jack as well in the chat who echoes your feeling about airplanes as well. He said, "I feel that wish I could teleport. Airplanes hurt my ears." So you're not alone.
So
Obidi, with the
they hurt my ears, and as much as I have a degree in chemical engineering, I still don't trust the engineers that build planes, because human beings are prone to mistakes, and I'm just so scared getting on a plane, because they get shaky when turbulence happens, and it's just I don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah. By the way, for anyone who is like a pilot in the chat, that's not anything about you. I feel like it's an insane job what they do, and it's incredible. And
it is.
There's other ways of like travel, right? So I feel like if we can't fly, because some people might be afraid of flying, we can utilize other means of transport.
For me, it's not even about the plane, really. It's just even vehicles. I just don't have to sit in it, you know. If I have to sit in one spot for 10, 12 hours, I don't want to do it.
That's intense. Yeah, that's why the Adobe lives are short and sweet, right? 2 hours, you get what you get all that nutrients, that inspiration, and then you can bounce off. Yeah.
I'm just very restless. I think that's what it is. So we're gonna jump into the skin immediately with this one. Again, she has pretty good skin. So we're just gonna do some minor touch-ups, but we're doing this with frequency separation.
Nice.
And we actually drove, talking about traveling.
The chat, by the way, is going hot for traveling right now. But yeah, I was gonna say, that is the talking point, but we'll have to get back into it.
I know people love traveling, and I love going places. I don't love traveling. Let's put it that way. I love being in different places.
Especially now, like, things are kind of getting back to some normality, right? So people want to travel more and go. We've got Paloma who said, I don't mind planes. I love to travel, but I am very much looking forward to teleportation. So there we go.
Same.
We can all. I feel like we can work at that. There we go.
Right. But we drove, I think, 6 hours for the shoot. This was in 2019, I think, just November, because it was a birthday weekend. But we drove 6-7 hours, almost to the border of Mexico.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then we drove back to Palm Springs.
I feel like though, whilst you're in that journey for such a long time, you have the opportunity to to talk and to obviously find out more about the individual, and that might lead into the process when you get there.
The good part is that we've known each other already before that, so it was just like friends going to the
little road trip.
Desert, yeah. We were there.
To the desert, you said it so casually. I love that.
Right.
We don't have deserts in London, but yeah, I guess.
We don't
have deserts in London, unfortunately. Like a sandbox maybe in the park.
I really thought about moving to London a few years ago, but I thought about your weather and I was like, I'm good.
That's funny. That is a thing. Yeah, that is a thing.
It rains every time.
That shouldn't put you off though from coming. Just saying, FYI for any.
Oh no, I still definitely want to visit for sure.
Okay.
I just don't know about living there. I don't do too well with the cold.
I mean, where this model is now, I mean, I would love to kind of be there because that just looks paradise, right?
I don't think you would.
Or was it? Oh, was it not?
Extremely hot. It was extremely hot.
Okay.
I'm just gonna grab a patch tool and just get rid of something here and there. With the patch tool, I do it on skin, then I also go on to texture to do it as well. That's where I see that it works the best for me. Let's see what else we need to get rid of. I notice that I keep like leaning into the camera and I have to back up.
That's a thing. Do you know what? That is very much. I feel like it's the baptism of fire for everyone who does Adobe Live Design. Even when I did my stream, it's like you either do the tilt head or the zoom in.
Right.
It's a thing. It's our tics. It's fine.
I have to keep.
We embrace it.
Right. Like people can see me like this close. I don't want that.
Yeah.
No one should be seeing me that up close and personal.
That's funny. That is funny. No, it's all good. It's all good positive vibes in the chat anyway, by the way. So even if you're like zoomed in the screen,
okay,
everyone's locked into you and your work. So honestly, bro, the love is there. So it's all good.
So basically, this is what we've done with the skin. Just something minor. She still has pores. She still looks natural. Normally, I would also go in and like, even out all of her skin, but for time purposes, I'm just gonna do this real quick.
Just a quick question: how about tattoos as well? I mean, how do you work when it comes to models with tattoos? Is it a selective color? Well, again, it's in skin, so how much do you?
I've never actually tried to remove tattoos because like they don't bother me, but I figure like patch tool should be good for that. The only thing with this one is that you kind of start to notice that some parts of her has like highlights and some parts have shadows. So you have to be mindful when you're doing that. But I think you can take that easily with the patch tool.
I feel like we also need to dedicate some love to the traditional clothing that she's wearing as well. Because that is beautiful clothing outfit.
Yes. But like, I guess that's how you can take out the tattoo if you wanted to. I just use patch tool.
How you did that.
I just use patch tool, and then I'm gonna grab the mixer brush again and just kind of blend that area a little bit.
Terrible now because that tattoo might be really significant, like a personal family heirloom.
We
should take away that.
That's why I don't normally take them out. But I mean, I'm sure she wouldn't mind.
But it's good to see how you, again, for those in the in the chat who, if they want to know how to do it, you just showed us as well. So that's quite a cool process.
Yeah,
how you've done that.
The patch tool will get you right every single time. So I'm gonna go to dodge and burn real quick.
Just on that, so we're about, I'll say, sorry, 14 minutes or so in before we do our artist spotlight. So yeah, again, we've said it's a really, really good one. So thank you for joining us. Stay tuned, and yeah, we're gonna watch some more magic from Obidi whilst he's editing. So welcome.
So you know how I was saying the white conceals and black reveals with eraser. So with the brush, it's different. It's flipped. So white reveals and black conceals. So that's why I have to switch to the white foreground with this one. You can just kind of quickly go over the areas in the face. And again, just remember to make sure you're varying your brush sizes. Oh, and also a simple way to change your brush size is the brackets. Yeah, the right facing right. This is
I don't even
this bracket with this and this bracket increases. You know, I'm bad at with direction.
No, we'll get. I mean, to be fair, you did the shapes pretty well. I mean, we'll get it in the chat anyway for that. But we know
this increases. Yeah. If someone knows what I mean, put it in the chat, please.
Put the keys in, or by doing interpretive dance, or
right.
my gifts.
So I'm just gonna go over to burn real quick.
Just on that as well, with because I remember we spoke yesterday about the tools you use, and obviously you use a mouse. Is that just the mouse and keyboard?
Yeah,
right?
Just a mouse.
So with I know with like so I've got like a Wacom tablet, and I know you have the sort of that little dial where it makes your life a little bit easier because you can obviously just almost like swivel it around, and then that increases or decreases your brush thickness. That's fun.
Someone gifted me a Wacom tablet a few years ago, and I never touched it.
Really? You gotta play with it.
You know,
it's cool.
You know, back to High School Musical. Stick to what you know.
Okay. Fair.
If it ain't broke,
FYI, it is fun though. It is it's one of those ones where, because I was a little bit, I would never say against it, but I just never knew how to do it. And I think I just gave myself a weekend of just practicing around. I was seeing people do it in the agency I worked at, and then once I started using it, it's weird to kind of go back now.
So that's what it is for me as well. I need to give it time and like actually practice, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't really feel like practicing, but this works. So So I was just doing the dodge and burn on her skin, so you can kind of see the difference in the skin. I'm going to zoom in and show you as well. Out of the way. Okay, so that's like the difference in the skin. It's much cleaner, and there's like that glossiness to the skin. And even when you zoom in, it still looks natural, because like I know some of the things, some of those things are beauty spots like this one, so I'm not gonna take it out. Actually, sometimes if I know it's a beauty spot and I want to enhance it, I go to my burn and I just
enhance the beauty spot. I love that.
Yeah, I just kind of go over that light, so that way it pops a little bit more. So now you can definitely see that beauty spot. But yes,
that's so cool to sort of see when you're switching between the layers and you're seeing the before and after, and the edits from top, edit below. It's really cool, really cool.
So I'm gonna jump over to Selective Color. Just gonna start with the reds. Again, I'm just gonna edit mainly for the dress, so don't worry too much about what her skin looks like.
It's cool how like on the edges, it's like it's much almost like a gradient, but it's much darker. And then as you kind of going in to the central point, it's got that light which is kind of focusing on her as an individual.
Yeah, that was because of the reflector. Trying to see what. I think one very important thing for me is the shades, not necessarily the color, but the shades. It's like, what shade of yellow do I want? What shade of blue do I want? Because those things all tie in to make the photo great. And it's like, do I want the yellows to be cool or to be like warm?
That seemed quite interesting, that red one.
Right.
I was like, whoa.
So she clearly looks very yellow now, and that's not good. So much like last time, you just kind of go in with your brush and get rid of that. The thing about this is that you got to be like really careful, and normally I would do this zoomed in. I don't know, I'm doing this zoomed out because you can really see all your mess ups when you're zoomed out, or when you're zoomed in, not when you're zoomed out. Sorry.
It's always funny. I always find when I'm designing as well, if I'm doing a bit. I mean, I don't use Photoshop that often because it's more InDesign, but occasionally you have to do a bit of editing. And when you zoom really close in and you get those final, nooks and crannies, it's awesome. And then when you zoom out, it's just like it's so tiny that the edits you've made, it probably might not even be shown to anyone, or people might pick up on it because obviously it's the idea when you zoom out, you might not see it, but it's those tiny little attention to detail, which I you've done it so well kind of over this past two streams. Which has been great.
Thank you. I try to like do it and just get it done without spending 2 hours trying to fix one tiny little thing. But again, with whites, just want to be mindful of how much you're doing, because I mean, I guess in this case it's not really affecting her skin tone because I've taken it off her skin, so now it's just on the background, as you can see with the red mask on her. Actually, I don't want that bright. Maybe like this much. Then the neutrals. These are very, very important in editing to me, because this is where I start to see those interesting tones start to show up in the photo. But again, very little goes a long way. Like in this one, it's +1, +1, +1, +2. Compared to like this one is like -50, -14, +45, -11.
It's been awesome to sort of see your process, man. It's a good question I was going to ask you again. It's so when you've found a model, or even just you collaborated with someone over a while, do you almost feel like the kind of clothing that you might want to work with them on? It depends on their skin tone or undertone, but do you maybe have if you see a model, for example, and think you would love to take a photograph of them, have you got in mind the kind of clothing styles, patterns, shapes, or things that would work with them, or have you got to just kind of experiment and then see what happens?
I think that's the beauty of a model, is that they are kind of a blank slate, and they have to be able to like work with whatever you give them. So but that's when I work with a stylist and I tell them what I want. Normally I'm like, okay, so I want very interesting silhouettes, I want structure, I want something that has really insane waistline, because when you see especially the really old-fashioned like Marie Antoinette when they're wearing the big waist stuff.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to give the stylist what you want, basically, for the shoot. You have to describe the styling, and that's where the mood board plays into the story. It's like, okay, what are people wearing in the mood board, and like how is the stylist able to interpret it in their own way?
And that's probably the fun part as well, right? When you mentioned the blank canvas, it's the opportunities, especially at the very early stage of any project, whether it's photography or just design, it could go down so many different routes, right? Which I think is the beauty of what we do in our craft. So yeah, makes total sense. And just oh, sorry, no, please go.
Yeah, go on. Because when you look at a model's portfolio or whatever, you can kind of see them. They could be in a toothpaste ad and like they're smiling, and then the next day they're shooting a couture for Mugler and they have like bleach blonde hair and like no brows and like insane makeup, and it's still the same model. It's just that they are doing what they get money for, being a blank slate and like being able to like blend into whatever you put them in.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. Very good point. And I can again, everyone who's watching, you probably see in the bottom of your screen we've got our artist spotlight countdown, which is very, very close, probably about 3 minutes, 2 minutes or so. So we're gonna definitely get into that very, very soon. And like we said before, it is an awesome one. So cannot wait to kind of show you guys. And then we're gonna again, for those of you who are quite new to artist spotlight, it's basically us to kind of give it a love, show you some highlights of a creative in our industry and community. And yeah, just to kind of hone in on that a bit more. So yeah, stay tuned in the next 2 minutes and we're going to jump into that very, very shortly.
So I'm just going to go in real quick because I know her skin tone and I know what she looks like. And she's warm, but she's also almost neutral as well. So I'm just going to go back to Selective Color. And I'm just going to play with the sliders a little bit and see where I think her skin tone looks best. Like, the main thing about this is that you have to really look at your subjects on set. You have to really just like stare at them and figure out what the skin gives up when you look at it.
That analyzing, isn't it? Of just like digesting for a minute of
right.
Yeah, I get that.
Just like stare deep into the souls. So this
Can you imagine that just on the street, just standing at staring at like you are amazingly good to shoot as a photograph, so I need to yeah, do you mind?
They're like, yes, I mind.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna do the face. But this is a lot more accurate for Neka. That's her name, Neka. It's she's Nigerian as well. Her name means mother is the greatest.
Nice.
So basically that's kind of fixing her skin tone. It's not as red as the rest of her skin. You can always go in and fix this with that. But yeah, this is a lot more accurate for her in real life.
Nice shot. It's looking, I mean, the only way I can try it's almost like golden. It's just like it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shot.
Thanks.
And sorry, no, go for it. I'll say our last little bit and then we'll jump into our spotlight. But yeah.
With these, I just like to turn on the opacity a little bit to where there's still that effect. But I think this would be the final photo for me.
Looking good, man. Well, we're gonna have obviously we do our spotlight and then we can come back in and do there's like final tweaks and like a, you know, almost like a
Okay.
nice little roundup. But yeah, as we promised you guys at the very beginning, we are now into the artist spotlight segment of our stream. So today, we can sort of pop on to our amazing designer who we have, photographer, I should say. And we're gonna pay some love and some homage to Azaz, who's a photographer. So yeah, let's have perhaps a little browse through his feed, and maybe you can pick out a few images.
I love that his bio says photographer.
That attention to detail, isn't it?
That's funny.
I didn't even pick up on that. You picked up on that way before.
Photographer, I love that.
That is sick.
Let's see. That first one just looks very striking, like her face. Again, it's the eyes, you know. Yes. Oh wow.
This is amazing. I love this.
Wow, this is insane.
A nice little show reel.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's some good skills there, you can tell. You know, got Fair in the chat saying photographer. Yeah, I think it's like a play on. It's a I don't think that actually is a thing. But again 10 points for creativity on
20 points to Gryffindor.
This is amazing. The shots are, I mean, the videography is beautiful.
You see, that's something that I wish I could do. Videos, I just don't have the patience for it.
I remember seeing there was one at the, well, we'll have a look at this one first, but the videography part as well. It's, again, that's such a cool skill to kind of utilize when you can do, you know, photography or any other design. It's how it all links in.
I really like his work. It's like very moody, and it's also very real. I think his work and my work are almost like night and day, because his work is very real, and it's like when you look at this, for example, you know, it's just people existing without any makeup, any fashions, and then you look at mine and it's like she's wearing a 20-pound dress.
But I love that contrast, and just that it's the differences that makes everything kind of unique in nature, right? It's right, because going back to that shot you had before, that is just a real documentation of like real life in its purest
like
form. And then
like this is beautiful, and it's something else that we touched on yesterday, being the jack of all trades and the master of none. For me, I know that I don't have the eye for this. So if you were to hire me to like shoot documentary style, I can't. But he has like a nice mix of like documentary style and like
they're beautiful,
and like really moody photographs. Like this is insanely beautiful. I want.
Wow.
Yeah, this is so.
It's the eyes, right?
Wow.
It's the shot of the eyes and
it's the eyes. Like
that
can't stop staring at the eyes.
There was like I remember, because I definitely had a browse before we came on, and it was one, we definitely have to go through everything because there's a lot of awesome shots to go through, but there was one at the beginning, I think in the first row, and it was touching on a bit of videography, which I thought was really cool what they did with the type. I think it's the where it says bath in the middle in the green. If I'm right in saying this is the one where it's the text kind of goes up and down in between. I hope this is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. And it has that kind of like almost that opacity lowered in between, but it's so effortless in that transition, which I think is beautiful. It's almost like, you know, that green overlay of like not the similar, but like the Matrix, that kind of filter, but it's embedded.
Talk about the green tint and in their work. It's really, really nice.
No, definitely. Isaac, I mean, amazing work.
Yeah.
And, you know, definitely we have to pay some more.
Yeah, no, his work is really cool. You know, I almost thought that was my roommate back in Texas.
I was gonna say maybe. You know,
he looks just like him. Same hair, same face, but it probably isn't.
But these shots are, I feel like this type of work is so probably important even now, especially when we had this lockdown period and just documenting community, right? Documenting our space around us. This is just shots in the purest form, like we said. It's I think it's so important to have these kind of images and to share and to get people talking.
Do you know what I really like about this photo is I like how brown is so dominant on the bottom half, and then the blue is so strong up here. But there's still like this brown here, and there's still like the hints of blue down here. I kind of like how that works, how the colors are so well layered, and I don't know if it's intentional or if it's not, but I love it.
I feel like it could be because it's so distinctive, the two tones, right? It's almost crazy if it wasn't intentional, but I mean, if it wasn't, then I mean, even more skills and
Right.
and kudos to that as well. There was another shot actually. I feel like we can just pick loads because there's so many. There was one on the.
So good. Which one?
One's beautiful. I want to go back to that one. That was really nice. But there was, I think it's the far right. If you go down a bit more, I think it's on that column. It's that effort of going back and forth now, isn't it? If you scroll a bit further up, if you scroll a little bit further up, and it's in the middle, it's almost like a bit further up. It was just a few more rows up. There we go. Yep, on that row there, where it's like on the far right, and that's the one.
This one?
Because it's almost like a shot from the below looking upwards, which I think is really, really cool now. So your eyes kind of like traveling along the distance of the ground into that engagement.
I wonder what's happening here. Like, was there a flood? Like, what's going on?
It's like it poses a lot of questions, right?
Right. Like, I like when a picture makes you think, and you're just like, what exactly is going on here? And I really like this.
I think it was taken, it says in Pakistan, he's got the hashtag in there, so it was taken in that location.
Yeah, because there's that sense of mystery with this photo, because you can't really see the face. And I'm guessing that's an ice cream truck or an ice cream trolley or a bicycle. Is that a tricycle?
Hard, isn't it? I feel like we want to see it and it's such a high res. That's not even a word. More high res.
I'm trying to see if anyone in the comments said something about it.
No, they're probably loves and effort. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's so good.
Let's definitely check out a few more and then go back. But he's got such a range as well. I think that's even just going on his feed. It's whether it's people photography, street photography. It's such a range, right? Different colors and shapes. Beautiful.
The colors, just insane. Like really, really breathtaking. And this one as well. Like the orange, the brown from the skin really works well with the teal, the blue in the background.
I love that almost like little hatch behind him as well. That little hatch opening or is it perhaps a window actually, but and then again, it's that curiosity, right? You want to kind of engage more. You want to know what the story
almost
is.
Cinematic. And like just the subject, there's just something so sincere and like soft about his eyes.
Perhaps look at maybe one again. I feel like it's one of those ones where, because Eye Spotlight's always a good one, we could definitely spend a lot more time, but let's check out perhaps one more and then we'll pop back. But I mean, that's a nice one too. Yeah, that's cool.
Wait, which ones do you want to check out?
I mean, there's so. I mean, I feel like we have one each, perhaps, because I can't even just pick one.
Okay.
I feel like that one's cool. The that child on the far right with the hair and then the lighting on there is quite interesting.
I really like his hair too. Like,
yeah, that stood out a lot when I was just when you were going through. I was like, oh man, that.
Last summer, I had a red hair phase. And yeah, I really like it.
Is that on your social media feed? I mean, people can follow up and find out.
It's on my personal Instagram.
Okay.
But yeah, awesome. It's on there.
Again, as well, we've got again Steve in the chat, and other people, showing some love, and we've got Sam. He said great lighting, and Steve, he said very, very awesome lighting
very awesome.
Too. So yeah.
I was gonna show you the magazine that I was talking about, right?
Cool.
Let me just show that really quickly.
Just before I was gonna say, just a quick one. So I mean, that was an amazing, artist spotlight to kind of pay, a bit of homage to sort of see those in the community. So Azaz, a massive, thank you for submitting and showing us. And I hope I got your name correct spelling that and saying that. And again, for those, if it's your first time looking at Artist Spotlight, definitely, submit your recommendations, because we would love to kind of see and to share some love about what we're seeing in our community. And you can do that just by the Artist Spotlight tab in the Behance chat. So click on that and then follow directions. And who knows, you could be up here next and we could be showing some love to your work. So get submitting. And let's see what you were saying, Obidi, sorry, in terms of your magazine.
Let's see.
I'm curious about this.
So
I'd love people create the stories like that over the letters. That's cool.
Yeah. They just released a book, a magazine, and this cover, oh my god, this cover, it's just insane. It's insane, and I really love what they're doing now with fashion. Right, they're trying to create the narratives that we're going to see in the next 20, 30 years. And one of my favorite writers, Chinua Achebe, said, the story of the hunt glorifies the hunter, not the lions. Because,
I like that.
Like people always say, oh, the lions were aggressive, this, that, but why were you in this space? Like, let them exist.
You're dropping gems over these two streams, man. I love these like philosophical sort of sayings. They're great.
That's the thing with the media, is that we have to kind of create our own stories ourselves, because we have to create the stories that we want to see down the line. And I just think this magazine is stunning, and I need to get a copy ASAP.
It's good to sort of see. Going back to, I guess, the beginning of the questions that were asked, because someone asked about the, what is your magazines. It's nice to sort of see your, what you're inspired by and your influence.
Fashion,
beautiful, beautiful. And actually, when you show me Editorial, I could geek out for like another 2 hours of a stream, because that's kind of my thing, Editorial. But I feel like we definitely have to go back to you as much as it is, because it is good stuff. But it'd be good to. We've got about, I would say, 10 minutes or so. But it'd be good to kind of maybe wrap up a little bit on what you're working on, and even more importantly, a nice little recap of what we've kind of done, over a bit of yesterday and today. But let's have a go on that one.
Okay, sounds good. So basically, yesterday I went through really quickly how to create a mood board for a photo shoot, and I think I still have. Do I have that mood board on here? I don't think I saved it. Okay, yeah. So I kind of just did one as an example that had to do with the styling, and it's just about getting the inspiration photos that you want to relate to the team. Like, hey, this is an idea of what I want and where I'm going with the styling, and just try and keep it short and straight to the point. I normally try to use like 3 or 4 photos max, because anything more than that is just overkill. And you can do that on Photoshop. Just really quickly, I'll go to like a new file, and and I have my width on 1080 and my height on 720 pixels, white background. When I hit create, I have a new slate, and I can just drag and drop the photos that I want on there, and go from there. That way I can create like several photos that show the client or the team like this is the vision. Then we talked today about understanding your subject's undertones, and just knowing how to do them justice in Photoshop or in Lightroom, whatever app you use. Neutral, warm, and cool. Those are the 3 undertones that you need to know. And if you need like example of people who fall in those ranges, Lupita is a very popular example for someone who's cool. And then Beyonce is very warm. I'm trying to think of someone who is neutral, but I can never like think of someone off the bat. But I really want to say like
digging in a part of the brain, isn't it? Trying to like filter through which one's
right.
neutral.
I think like Regina King is neutral.
Okay.
I believe she's more on the neutral side of things. She's not that warm. And she's not that cool.
We're not talking personality, aren't we? We're talking
no,
like
yeah, no, yeah. We're not talking
if anyone jumped in the last 5 minutes of the stream, like we're talking about really cold people.
Someone's gonna get like a slice, like a sound bite, and be like, "Oh, here's Regina King."
No, it's all love. It's all love. It's all love. In the undertone.
Yeah, but yeah, we basically just went through how to edit to get that vibrant, but to not like lose the details in the skin. So like here, for example, we worked mainly on everything else but her skin, and after that we grabbed an eraser brush and we kind of went over her skin. And for anyone that's just joining now, I'm just going to grab this brush real quick, switch to the white foreground, erase and up brush. And so if I did this, you'd see that difference in her cheek. So you can kind of see, so that's where I erase this number. You can kind of see how much warmer that is. That's not accurate for her skin tone.
No, it's been. I mean, this whole, again, the 2 days have actually flown by, but it's been, really interesting to sort of see the process and the different tools that you're using as well, and kind of feeding into our audience, some real gems about your process and what you're doing. And I would definitely say, in terms of how can people kind of follow up with you and social media, this is the time, to plug yourself, whether it's website or Insta, because I feel like a lot of people in the chat would love to kind of follow up and see your process and ask questions. So yeah, how can they follow up?
Let's see. So this is my Instagram. If you want to follow me on there, I need to post more. Don't judge me, please.
You got 300, and I mean that's a pretty decent. I don't know. I mean, I say that, and I got like 1,000 of mine. And it's not actually created. It's you got more method to your madness with how you're working.
I used to be so invested in Instagram, but then it became work, and I'm just over it now. But yeah, so this is my Instagram. You can follow me on there, or you can also check out my website, obidslens.com, which used to be my old alias online. I sent to update that to my actual first and last name.
It's honestly, I remember when I first knew I was going to be hosting you and I checked your website, I was in awe with the work that you had on display, and it's just Thank you. I mean, I remember seeing this and thinking, this guy knows his stuff. He knows his stuff, and he's very good. So I feel like everyone in the chat will echo me when I say that. I mean, absolute talent. Yeah, it's been amazing stuff. And what would you say, like, in terms of, before we kind of do a little nice little wrap up, what's the next step for you in terms of where you're kind of going with work or career? Where do you kind of see yourself going in the next 2 years or so? It's a deep question, isn't it, in 2 minutes?
No, but... like, that's a tough question, because I have this thing where I almost don't do like New Year resolutions or like 5-year plans, because I feel like, again, one other saying that my parents used to say, and it's probably a popular saying, but humans make plans and God laughs. I don't know. Dude, where
your gems are sharp this week.
6 months,
That's so true. That's so true.
But
your parents are wise, man.
Love to shoot more magazine covers and just more editorials. Just kind of more of what I've been doing, but I would love to take it to like the next level. Because we always want to grow and prosper.
Well, I mean, any sort of even art directors or editors in the chat, I feel like they will definitely reach out because they've seen your
please.
skills. And dude, even so, I mean, I would love to collaborate. I mean, you mentioned obviously what you do, or what you do, of course, your process, and I work in editorial. I would love to work with you on any projects, man, because your stuff
I
is,
I would
yeah,
love
we
that
got to make it
actually.
happen.
No, yeah, let's talk after this, and
We'll make it
happen
happen.
for
And I
sure.
feel
No,
like, and this is I mean, it's perhaps a nice little time to kind of plug as well with Behance, because again, you're going to see a lot of creatives just like Obidi and myself, of course, where we're kind of doing side projects, community-based projects, client projects, and they're all on Behance. So if you're new to Behance, set an account, and then definitely explore and to sort of see who else is out there, because that's why we do what we do, to sort of share the love, and to appreciate good work. But yeah, it's
and I
been
guess
sort of cool.
just quickly going back to what you were saying about like my plan for the future, I guess one other thing that I really want to try and accomplish this year is to get a rep for my work.
Okay.
Because then I can just have I can focus on the art side of it and like not so much the business side of it, because business is not my forte. But the art is where I thrive. So
I feel like, oh, sorry, go for it.
No, go on.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm the same where it comes when it comes to the financial side of things, that's why you have an accountant, because you can kind of focus on like the parts where you must obviously mention jack of all trades, right? So just really focus on the parts that you would like to do and the bits that you're good at.
Right.
So any reps out there, definitely get reaching out, because I feel like they will, if they've watched the stream, it's been amazing to sort of see your work.
But no,
and again, obviously,
so great. I was just gonna say this has been so great the past 2 days with everyone on here.
I mean, yeah, and to be fair, I mean the comments have been absolutely all been amazing, man. From the past 2 days, beautiful vibes, beautiful comments, and then perhaps you obviously mentioned your Instagram. Again, can people collaborate with you if they want to reach out? Or
Yeah, definitely. Just shoot me a message and we'll talk.
Nice. Cool. Well, I mean, just before we kind of wrap up, I mean, I'm always quite curious to know, but I mean, how have you kind of found? It's always quite a nice thing to end on, but how have you found, your experience in terms of, being here, showing your work, your process? How have you? Because you were quite nervous when we first spoke, wasn't it? But hopefully you kind of eased. It didn't show, by the way, because you hopefully eased it quite well.
You know what I think helps with the nerves is that it's really just me and you talking. So it feels like I'm just talking to a friend. Nice. And because it's not like I'm talking to a room full of people, which I am, but I can't really see them, but I can see you. So it's been really fun, actually. I've really enjoyed my time with everyone on here, and thanks so much for all the love.
No, it's always interesting when you sorry, no, I was gonna say, like, the comment, because you can't see the comments, but you know they're there. It's almost like a voice from the above, right?
Right. Right.
Feeding into it.
Right. So yeah, it's been really fun just sitting on here and like talking about my process, because I could go on talking for days about the madness and like the method to my madness. But having 2 hours, I have to like make like why do I keep forgetting my words? I have to
like condense or
basically bring it down to like 2 hours. But yeah, I've had so much fun talking to everyone on here.
You've done amazing, honestly, and I feel like that whole, like, because again, 2 hours in the Adobe Hemisphere, it's like 2 minutes because it goes so quick.
Right. And
but you
the
have
questions too, great questions. If you have any more questions, like feel free to message me on Instagram and I'll get back to you.
Slide into those DMs, I'm sure they will. And just a little thing just to wrap up. So again, amazing, and thank you very much for joining us for our day 2. And so coming up next, we have the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge with Julia Vaca, and then straight after, you can learn how to design team badges in Photoshop for a fictional space expedition to another planet with the awesome Voodoo Val. And then after that, we have at 1 Pacific, join the lovely Claddie from Print My Soul in how to create a digital portfolio in Adobe InDesign. So a massive thank you, everyone, for joining. And of course, to you, to Obidi, for joining us, gracing us your presence, showing us your process. You've been an absolute star, dude.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. And again, thank you guys for joining. Hopefully you feel inspired, energized to kind of go out, do your thing in the community. So join us again very, very soon. And it's been a pleasure to host you, dude. So all the best. And Take care.
You.
Bye.
Bye.